It's Thursday, February 25th, 2021. And today we'll be talking about Vancouver's Dapper Labs shoots some hoops to raise $250 million. Toronto-based Borrowell raises $25 million to acquire Kelowna BC-based Refresh Financial. And another quiet Canadian tech company acquired for $1 billion. Shh. But if you do know who we're talking about, leave a comment now, and we're going to hook up a random viewer who gets it right with a free 1-month TechTO Insider membership. We'll also be reacting to your questions and your comments throughout. So show us some emoji love, drop a comment, and we'll shout it out live. Let's get started. Alex, come on up. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, but I'm disappointed. Why don't we going to TikTok and Clubhouse as well? Come on, Jason, hook us up.
I think, you know what? I think it can be done. If you know how to do it, drop us a comment and we will get it set up. First up, Alex, a slam dunk for Dapper Labs. Why does that name sound familiar? And why am I hearing some faint meowing in my mind?
Well, don't know if you remember. Dapper Labs was the talk of the country. I think it was like 2 years ago when I introduced crypto kitties. They were collectible kitties. They were NFTs that you could breed, you could sell the offsprings, and you didn't know what you're gonna get. So it was like the buzz of the blockchain for 3 to 4 months, and then they went quiet. And now they're back with Top Shot.
Okay, so first of all, explain what an NFT is. I've heard this a lot. It's something about some sort of digital virtual something, but I don't get it. I used to collect, I think you used to collect comic books, right?
Yeah, I used to collect comic books. I used to have a few sports cards as well.
So tell me a little bit how this compares to the old collectibles of yesteryear for Alex.
So let me first explain this. So Dapper Labs, just one more thing, came out of a dev shop called Axiom Zen, and they spun out. And then they started with these NFTs. So they weren't called that back when it was CryptoKitties. It was called digital assets. Now we call it they're NFTs, which stand for non-fungible tokens. So the idea here is, hey, if you owned a baseball card, you knew you owned it. But even in the offline world, if you had a signature, like I had a Ken Griffey Jr. bat signed by Ken Griffey Jr. When I went to sell it, no one believed it was signed by him. I had to have and even if I had to, I could have, people said, oh, you could fake that certificate of.
And how much did you think that bat was worth, Alex?
Probably a couple $100. And then NFTs basically are saying, hey, you know what? We're going to create digital assets, and you're going to be able to track the history of this asset and know it's authentic. So just like a Bitcoin, you can go look at who's owned in the past, and there's a blockchain of it, and that Bitcoin's your only person can use it. Digital assets or NFTs are on blockchains. You can see the history, you see the authenticity, you see. So what's happening now here with like NFTs is they're using it for all sorts of stuff like GIFs or videos. So in this case, I don't know if you want to explain what Dapper Labs is doing, but they partnered with NBA and launched this thing called Top Shots.
Okay.
Top Shots is, if you go to the site, it looks like a digital version of your basketball cards. You can go buy a pack, you get 5 moments, and each moment is a video of, let's say, LeBron James dunking.
Right.
And they number it from 1 to whatever number.
Yeah.
And you own that. So let's say it's 1 to 500. You have the LeBron James dunking, and you have number 5. You now own that, and you can trade it and treat it like a basketball card. But here but I'm
confused, Alex. I understand that we're using a non-fungible token to take something that is digital and make it rare. But here's the thing. Can't digital things be copied? Like, wasn't the whole point of having your baseball bat or your comic books that there was a limited number? Tell me, I get that you can't copy it exactly, but can I go and view LeBron James's dunk on YouTube? What makes it special to own the Top Shot?
Well, I think that's a bit of the controversy right now, because I think people say, well, I think there's 2 ones. There's one is, hey, you just own that video. Like, I think with what I see with Top Shots, you just get this, the clip, like the ESPN highlight of that dunk. And yes, you can go to ESPN and see it. Someone can actually, copy your screen, but you don't own the original one. So what's the real value of assets? I guess it's the same thing. What's the value of Bitcoin? What's also happening in some cases, you're seeing NFTs which come with other rights. Hey, if you own this NFT, if you sell it, let's go away from Top Shots, but let's go to art. Like, there's lots of NFT digital art being sold. Every time that piece sells, the original artist gets a piece of it. And so there's people saying, hey, maybe you can get an NFT for concert tickets, and maybe owning the NFT will let you see a private concert online again in 6 months, like a recast or something like that. So there's going to be, right now, I think they are just basically being copied, and you're saying, okay, the scarcity is that it's numbered. It's like having a litho print of a Warhol or Gaudi, right?
So do you own any NFTs, Alex? Do you own any Top Shots or any digital
No,
art?
I was invited to buy some in October, and with the prices are going at now, I feel like I should have. Like I said, okay, it was like $20 for 5 GIFs, or video clips. I'm like, why do I need that? But like these are going for like 200, 500, 200,000.
Yeah, and this is a $250 million raise. So I guess are those prices like, is that what's driving the raise? What's the money going to be used for? So, why is this? What's going on here?
So I think there's a couple of things you have to unpack this, right? Top Shots itself supposedly done $200 million in transactions, right? So this looks like there's product market fit here,
and that's
right?
Primaries, right? Like when they get resold, they don't take a piece of it as well, or how does that work?
The markets has to be done on their market. So the transactions at the market, and so it's not clear if that's 200 million. I don't think it's 200 million primaries, because the packs are like $15 a piece, and there's like limit to 5,000 packs. So that's what, quickly math, that's 75,000. So it's probably lots of secondaries.
Yeah.
But I think why have they raised so much money? I think what Dapper has shown is they understand how to create buzz, how to create.
Look at this, Alex. Fit. We have David on LinkedIn saying there are 40,000 people in line ahead of him to buy a Top Shot. How about that?
And I think they have 2,500 packs, and they just randomly pick someone. It's like Dapper Labs knows how to build product buzz. Yeah. And they now, I think the $250 million is because, look, they've taken someone else's IP, and they've shown they can take that IP and mix with, like, CryptoKitties was buzzy. They can make something that hopefully will have a long period. And like they have partnerships already lined up with Dr. Seuss Enterprise, Warner Music, and UFC. So
Dr. Seuss, when the kids get involved, that's game over, right, Alex?
Yeah. But again, $200 million, let's say they even make 10% of that. So it's a 20 million revenue. So it seems like a rich valuation, but I think like Dapper Labs looks like the leader in this category by far.
Yeah. Amazing. And so if you're part of the TechTO community, whether you're in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, or somewhere else in Canada, what's interesting about this for you? Why does this matter to you?
Well, I think a few things. First of all, it shows that I think it just as I just said before, it proves that Dapper Labs knows what they're doing, and they are the leader in NFT. There's a bunch of other NFT seems to be all over the web right now. In the last few weeks, everyone seems to be talking about the digital art they bought, but no one's close to the revenue size that Top Shots have shown, and they've previously did with CryptoKitties early on. So I think that's interesting. I think the second thing is, if you had any doubt that crypto's back, it's back for the moment. Yeah. I think this is a massive round for Vancouver, which really hasn't had that many massive rounds since the mid 2010s. So it shows that the ecosystem there is still doing well. And personally, I regret not taking that offer to buy Top Shot pack in October. So learning here is when you see a digital NFT in early access, even if you think it's crazy, take it.
Well, how about this? Why don't we give people early access to buy a TechTO newsletter? What do you think of that?
Well, are we starting TechTO newsletters, NFTs?
Why not?
You can buy Wednesday's email NFT.
That's right. That's right. So if you want awesome Canadian tech news in your inbox every Monday, or maybe awesome tech career opportunities in your inbox on Wednesdays, or maybe you want to know about interesting people and funding insights on Friday, you need to subscribe to the TechTO newsletter, right?
Can't miss it.
Can't miss it. All right. Next up, Borrowell raising $25 million to pay for the acquisition of Kelowna BC-based Refresh Financial. Alex, tell me about what Andrew and Eva have been building over the last few years with Borrowell.
So, Borrowell is a Toronto-based company. They're dedicated. If you ask them what they're doing, they're dedicated to making financial stability possible for everyone. So, what does that mean? They offer you free credit scores. They provide education. They help you monitor your score. They have a bunch of digital tools to make you smarter about your financial health and to find new products for your financial health. So they're pretty large. They've got 1 million plus members, and they're the ones looking out for the rest of us. Making sure you don't, Jason, when you have that big debt, it tells you why you shouldn't be buying 10 Top Shop cards.
I don't know, man. I think that's the future of my children's education. Hey, you're being audited today by Amy. She is ready to hear your take on Borrowell. She'll be providing some feedback in the chat to see if you got this right. Now, I got to ask, we love Borrowell, longtime community members at TechTO, actually part of the movement that started a Canadian tech ecosystem with the work they were doing with Toronto Homecoming maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know Refresh Financial, Alex. This is new to me. Tell me a little bit more about Refresh Financial.
So I actually had never heard of Refresh Financial myself either. I guess it's not targeted us. They're, like you said, they're not in Vancouver, like in Okanagan Valley, which actually has quite a bit going on there. They were started in 2013, and they offer what's called secured saving loans, with the idea that customers can build their savings, build their credit at the same time. And they've expanded to a bunch of like other products like secured visas. Supposedly have 100,000 Canadian customers and 800, I guess, referral partners. I guess that's affiliates. And when I looked at what's a secured saving loan, I never heard of this product before, and it looks like a savings account which you can borrow against, and it looks like almost like a line of credit that you build your credit history for.
So, is this a product that you think more Canadians need access to? Is the idea here there's a cross-sell product between the membership bases of Borrowell and Refresh?
I think there's a great cross-sell because remember, lots of Canadians need to repair their credit rating or understand their credit rating. Yep. And so I imagine, hey, you have a poor credit rating, but you should have a much higher one. You can looks like a secured saving loan is a great way to quickly improve your credit rating by putting money in, borrowing against it, and then paying it back quickly. And so then the bank say, okay, this is a less risky person. So it seems like a perfect mix.
So how big is the combined company? I know there have been some rumors or whispers or claims that Borrowell is Canada's biggest fintech. Does this solidify that?
Well, you tell me, how big is Wealthsimple?
Hey, Alex, we can't be live when we talk about that kind of stuff. All right, come on, stick to the script here. Tell me about Borrowell's size.
Well, again, so it's interesting to try to read between the numbers because Borrowell says, acquisition doubled their size of customers. So it's not clear to me what a customer is because I think Refresh in press releases had 100,000 Canadian customers. So that means Borrowell now has 200,000 Canadian customers, but they have I've seen as many as 1.5 million members. I guess that's people that are monitoring their credit score. So it looks like they touch up to 2 million Canadians lives, which is pretty big. They have 130 employees. It's not clear to me. So I imagine that's one of the bigger Canadian fintechs, because again, Sensible powers all the credit cards for all these companies too. So how many people do they touch?
There you go. I think there's a lot of mystique around the title of the biggest Canadian fintech. And hey, the more people we have vying for that title, the better. I love it. So why is this interesting to the TechTO community? I mean, people who've been following Andrew and Eva's journey for years now, seeing it come to the next level. What are the big takeaways here for people watching right now?
Well, I think so Borrowell was hit by COVID and they sort of had a fall from grace. People are saying, oh, they're in bad shape. They've laid off 20% of the people. They sort of went quiet and they sat there and built this business back up despite the headwinds they had. And it shows that there is money out there to help you with an acquisition and to grow. This is they raised 25 million. I don't know what percent of this went to the Refresh, but there was a significant portion. If you look at who invested, it's some interesting people. Who
is it? That's what I was just going to ask. Who's leading this round? Who's participating?
Well, again, it's not clear to me who's leading, but you have Kensington Capital and BDC, which are two players you often see. Portage and White Star, where past investors are back in. But what's more interesting to me is a couple of the banks are there. You got National Bank and EQ Bank. I don't consider EQ Bank a big investor, so it's interesting to see the smaller Canadian banks invest in companies that could, I guess, help them become faster, quicker.
Yeah.
What's your you've dealt with this other Canadian financial institutions investing. What's your opinion? Is that good or bad for the ecosystem?
Oh, I think it's great. I think look, this is a community, and this is an economy, and this is an environment where we've got to work together to bring new digital experiences to Canadians, right? And here's the truth: the traditional incumbents, they've got the Rolodex. They've got millions and millions of Canadians' information and life savings. And the more that we can integrate digital products into their workflows, I think the better. I think the disruption needs to happen together, not one or the other. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think so. What you haven't mentioned here is, and who usually gets mentioned in the same breath as Borrowell, is the U.S. attacker, right? Credit Karma. What's interesting is, when Credit Karma entered this market, they entered with a flurry, and I think at one point they had claimed to have more members than Borrowell. But just like Borrowell went quiet in COVID, so has Credit Karma. And I think Borrowell has built a much more unique approach to the market and a different approach. And it seems like now they fought back and may have taken leadership position and have a more robust product in this country. So it's very interesting because lots of Canadians worry about the big U.S. incumbent with tons of money, and look, Borrowell raised a lot of money for a Canadian company, but I don't know, Credit Karma was acquired for what, $7 billion.
There you go. So Alex, one place where you can hear from Andrew, Eva, and the founders of Credit Karma?
Where?
At TechTO live streams, Alex. Those are interactive live streams where you, watching it from YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, or Periscope, can actually meet and learn some of the leaders in the tech community, expand your network, and grow together. And we've got some amazing ones coming up. Alex, look at this. Happening right now. It's a retail marketing crossover discussing the future of beauty in 2021, including Katie Welch, the CMO of Rare Beauty. Of course, Cello and Tennille know Rare Beauty well. Alex, me and you are just getting acquainted. Selena Gomez's cosmetics line, a juggernaut of a business. And she is sharing right now some of the insights that founders and leaders need to know to up their marketing games, together with Marie and Kelly from Sampler. Pretty cool, right? We'll be jumping on there right after this. I got more though, Alex. You ready?
Hold on. Before that,
yeah,
there is Canadian business news about one of the beauty companies. What's that crazy one?
Decium?
Yeah, Decium got bought yesterday.
Oh, who bought them? I thought they were. I thought L'Oreal was already.
L'Oreal bought the rest of it for like I think $1 billion something.
Got it. That's a crazy story. If you want to talk about that, definitely we should talk about that in our Slack, TechTO Insider Slack. Alex, look at this one coming up after that. Intuit Prosperity Accelerator Demo Day with a fireside chat with Scott Cook, the co-founder Intuit. How excited are you for this?
I'm very excited, Jason. This seems like interesting placement of where to talk about this, considering Intuit bought Credit Karma, which is Borrowell's biggest competitor.
Holy cow. This is going to be huge. You better believe the Borrowell team's going to be there getting inside information, but also all sorts of really amazing Canadian fintech companies going to be up on stage presenting. You'll be seeing the future Borrowells, the future Credit Karmas, all together with Scott Cook and the Intuit Prosperity Accelerator Demo Day. And then wait, last one I want to talk about. International Women's Day coming up, and we've got Tamar Huggins-Grant, a veteran of the TechTO stage, going to be talking about the women in tech, the future of Canadian technology, with a stellar lineup. How pumped are you for this, Alex?
Super excited. Can't wait to watch it. Tamar has a lot to say, and she has no reason not to say it. So she's pretty bold, and I'm looking forward to what wisdom she has to give to us.
Awesome. Super pumped. Which brings us to our last topic on today's Quick Takes, Alex. Before we get started, we've sort of been teasing this as another quiet Canadian tech company acquired for $1 billion. At the beginning of today's live stream, we said, if you know who we're talking about, drop a comment and we'll reach out and hook you up with 1 month free membership to the TechTO Insider Program. And guess what? We have got some people who have delivered here on Twitter. It was Galvanize, purchased by Diligent. Ding, ding, ding. That is 1 month free for TechTO Insider membership. And then we got another one here on LinkedIn. MJ, congrats, Galvanize, on the huge exit.
So, Jason, how are we going to hook them up? Can you get their email? Do they have to just email you, Jason at TechTO.org?
Let's just tell the internet how to get in touch with me. That is the best way. Message me at Jason at TechTO.org and we will hook you up. So, all right. We can unveil it now. Last night, Diligent acquires Vancouver-based Galvanize for $1 billion. You know what's cool, Alex? $1 billion. So let's talk about
maybe
this
in 2010. This buys you like 5 Top Shots now.
That's right. Well, yeah, or 5 of those TechTO newsletters that we're going to put onto NFTs. The NFTs coming up. So look, you gotta walk me through this deal. This came out of nowhere for me. I know you're familiar with the players here, but tell us a little bit about Galvanize.
So Galvanize used to be known as ACL. So I think a few people will know who ACL is. ACL is sort of like one of those large Vancouver-based SaaS companies that people know exist but don't really know what they do. What they do is they build this security, risk managed, compliance, and audit software for the governance, risk management, and compliance market. So, what does that really mean? It means if you're on a board or if you're senior executive at a company and you want to know what potential risks you are, what audit or compliance, this is the software that does it. They were started in '87 and didn't raise money till 2017.
So how much do we know about the team, Alex? Are you familiar with the team that started this in 1987? So you were middle-aged back then. I was too. So tell me more about what was going on in the market in 87 and who is the team that's been building this for 30 something years.
I think it was a UBC prof that started, to be honest. I'm not that familiar with the story here. It was started.
Seems like a great story for a TechTO interactive live stream. No?
Yeah, we should reach out to the founders. I think we'll give them a week or so. Also, what's interesting here is, like, again, they bootstrapped it for what, roughly exactly 30 years, and then they raised 50 million from a PE shop called Norwest, right? So, it's very interesting, and they not only bootstrapped it, but did acquisitions before and after they raised money. So,
is this is it a roll-up strategy that was involved here?
Not really roll-up. I think diligence more of a roll-up. So, like, again, so for people that don't know what a roll-up is, says a company exists, saying we're going to go get all these small companies in the market. We can pay 4 times EBITDA or revenue for them, and then when we acquire them all, we're worth 8 to 10 times. What I saw with Galvanize, if you look at their history, it's a bunch of tuck-in acquisitions. It's not a roll-up. Diligent, who's on the other end of this, is definitely a roll-up. They're SaaS company, and look what they describe themselves as. They enable board members of corporations, governments, organizations, and not-for-profits to share and collaborate information for board meetings. That sounds very similar to Galvanize, but the difference here is they've raised, they serve 60% of the Fortune 1000 companies, which means they have 19,000 customers, and they recently raised $500 million from Blackstone and Clear Lake Capital.
So they're deploying that capital. Yeah. That's what's here. And we've got Tim, TechTO Insider, mentioning that it's the US standard for boards, both public and not for profit. So thanks for that tip, Tim. So tell me, they've raised the fund, they're doing the roll-up play. It's $1 billion. Tell me how the economics work. What informs that price, and what do you think is justifying that valuation?
This is more assumptions than anything else. First of all, the price tag is not confirmed, but I saw 4 or 5 articles and breakdowns, stuff like that, and it all seems to be in the $1 billion range. So usually where there's smoke, there's fire. So maybe it's 950, maybe it's $1.2 billion. What's a couple of $50 to $100 million? Then I was looking at press releases before and after from Diligent. It looks like, so they've done 2 quick acquisitions, which looks like has added about 300 million in revenue run rate. So based on where the companies were in the acquisition prices, it looks like, if I were to guess, Galvanize has 150 million revenue. So they're getting paid for a multiple of that revenue. They're getting paid because they can cross sell. I don't know how many customers they had, but there's 19,000 customers that Diligent has that now they can add a new feature to and charge for it. And, I think this was also a great win for Norwest. They came in 4 years ago, and they've I don't know what they paid. They bought $50 million. I assume they bought a third to half the company minimum, and they just made supposedly $500 million.
So who else are the winners here? Who else is cashing out and taking some liquidity?
Well, I guess the founders. So I guess,
are they sticking around?
I haven't read anything on it. It's like I said, this broke last night or late yesterday. So haven't seen much reaction from it. Saw the normal corporate quotes from the Diligent CEO. My view is private equity's done well, and some people in Vancouver are much richer this morning than 2 days ago.
So is that the takeaway for the TechTO community? Like more funds into the hopefully early stage and scale up ecosystem from this?
Well, I think my takeaway is a bit different. Like, one thing is, the tech ecosystem here, and I don't think it's any different in the Valley, but we don't talk much about what's going on with the private equity players. And if you look, there's been all the biggest exits or acquisitions over the last 36 months, or like 70% of them are private equity players looking at Canada for these companies that have been around for 20 years, that have built a niche product with a bit of a moat. And like, look, Intellects, what they sold for 500, 700 million, I can't remember now. And the private equity firm bought them. Like, private equity firms are super active here and are changing the landscape. And then we just don't talk enough about that. I think the other thing is, ACL was known, but they weren't a darling, right? And they changed their name, and here's a big company that's maybe not growing at 300% a year, but was growing, and we sort of ignore it. The other thing is, I think acquisitions are really underrated. Like, I don't know what percent of revenue growth came through acquisitions for Galvanize.
Right.
But I'm sure it was more than 10 or 20%.
Well, look, we see people learning from that playbook. Today we just spoke about Borrowell making that acquisition on Refresh, and so people are learning from that, and hopefully there's, I think there's got to be a toolbox of growth, both inorganic and organic, for the next generation of companies, and I think you're saying that we're behind on the inorganic side.
I'd say it's we're behind and it's undervalued in this ecosystem. I'd also say the other thing here is it just goes back to like when we started TechTO, one of the objectives was to make it a more unified ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it just shows like the companies that were around more than a decade really don't partake in the ecosystem. So like I would love, like, here's a company that, and again, I can't say how active in Vancouver, but the time we spend in Vancouver and activity there, it's not like they've reached out to us. It's not like they've reached out to the community. I think they, it's like, it's a different mindset. And I wish like there's a lot of larger companies that founders could learn from if they were more involved.
Alex, if only there was a place, maybe virtually, where we could bring together all the early stage founders, scale ups, and those who have done it before and are looking to give back and mentor those that are coming up next. Hold on a second. Check this out. The TechTO Insider membership. If you want to join a community of Canadian tech founders, entrepreneurs, innovators, and funders, you got to join, right, Alex?
You have to.
You have to.
You want more time with Jason? It's the only way.
Right.
It's the only way you're gonna get him.
That's right. But we've just been really lucky to bring on a brand new organization, almost 200 members joining just a few weeks ago. Alex, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Well, PeerScale you're talking about?
Yeah, that's PeerScale. You talked about how do we get people involved? How do we get those Galvanize founders involved?
PeerScale is like the scaled up founders, right? These are people that have built, and it's interesting. Some of the names in the companies you'll recognize, like there's Diana from Aqua Mobile, but there's a bunch of these like late stage growth companies where the founders are involved. And they're, what the great thing is they're eager to learn from each other, but they want to actually mentor up and coming founders. And so I think there's about 300 to 500 people in PeerScale. Yeah. And I think they're going to be great adds to the community. And I think we'll all learn a lot from them.
That's right. So if you're looking to grow your business, grow yourself, grow your career, and grow your impact in the Canadian tech ecosystem, got to become a TechTO Insider. Alex, holy cow, what a week in Canadian tech, right?
Yeah, it's funny. On Tuesday, I was like, God, nothing's happening this week. And then,
Awesome. Well, look, if you haven't already, you got to like and subscribe wherever you're watching. We'll see you on the inside. And now it's time to play our theme music.
We're in the business of delivering impossible things. We're in the business of delivering things that nobody's ever seen before.
If you build that culture, you'll come up with really cool and innovative stuff, and literally could be in the next multi-billion-dollar idea.
So this conversation is largely going to be about scaling yourself and scaling your leadership team.
I want to talk about one of the biggest struggles that I think a lot of startups face early on, which is building initial traction.